I always did like the way James Madison played, but over the years we've always played him pretty tough, because of our defense and stuff. But yeah, they, that big guard, Peyton is pretty tough. She's playing really well. She's shooting the ball well. They got an inside-out game that's pretty good. So the thing they don't do that might help is they don't press a lot. So we might be able to, get into our offense and I think we'll be able to guard them. We're trying to do some different things and stuff. And then Marshall's the same thing. They different, but they're the same thing that everybody's trying to do. They're going to press off a make and miss and try to get the game kind of muddy a little bit. Offensively, they're all right. And I think there's some things that we can do to kind of get them out of their offense. So, it's a good matchups. It's on the road, though. It's a little bit tougher. But, Kevin used to say it looks like our teams play a little bit better on the road in the past. So hopefully we can do that.
So you still we in the mindset of we're not going to experiment. We're just going to keep trying to do what we're doing better.
No, I think you're wrong on that one. In the fact that this morning we had a meeting and we're going to add some things, kind of like everybody's doing. I noticed that people that aren't that good defensively, they'll throw some kind of something new, or I call it junk and stuff. This is a little bit more than junk. We're going to try a different set in our defense and stuff like that. We could play 1-3-1, 2-3, and all that. So we're going to work on that. We've been working on the 1-2-2, and now we'll work on a different zone. So it kind of throws me off a little bit, because I'm a man-to-man type of coach. So it's a little different, but it's fun. It's something, when things are new, it's fun. And I think the kids like to kind of do it, So when the kids believe in it, it's a little bit better.
I guess kind of going off of that, how have you learned to, shift some of your focus as a coach of saying I know we've done this and been successful with it at times, but now to try to figure out to be more successful now, we have to try something new.
Yeah. I've always been willing to change, not real quickly, but I'm always been willing to change if something's not working and stuff like that. And, for me, I guess it became a little disappointing in a way that our defense requires you to, I call it getting away. And so it requires toughness. And we just didn't seem to have some of that. So by going to zone, it's a little bit more finesse, I guess. But we're still going to try to make it a little bit more, to where we can turn over, where we're doing some traps and stuff. So it's been different, everything kind of different. So the change is, I know I'm a John Gordon fan, and he's a one-word kind of guy. I don't know if y'all familiar with writing books and motivational speaker. And he talks about one word, live by under one word. So our whole team, and if you walk in our locker room, they each have a word by their name. And my word was change, be willing to change, and I didn't know what kind of year we have. I thought about the Saints at that time, and I was saying maybe next year, like the Saints, and thinking that we were and they actually did better at the end of the year. So I was like, man, we still might have some hope. We're not at the end of the year yet. And my goal has always been pretty much to try to win the tournament. You can win the league, and it's happy and you celebrate. But when you can win the conference tournament, that's when you go to the NCAA tournament. It's all, when I got here 14 years ago, that was my, that was my dream, or whatever you want to call it, goal and purpose, whatever. But
JMU, they have the conference leader in scoring with McDaniel. Kind of what have you seen out of her this year, and what are you expecting to see from her this week?
Man, I tell you what, 3 years ago, she was coming off of screens, off of handoffs, and before you know it, she was shooting it. So she's got I don't know if you want to call it a quick release, but man, she's ready to score, and from deep. And so I think, I love her game, man. I think she's been preseason player of the year a couple of years now. I think she is the best player in the league. And she's very difficult to guard because she can put the ball on the floor. She's big, she's 6 foot. And so there are some things that you have to do to her. We've been blessed that we didn't get hurt too bad by her the last 3 years or whatever. It was a big Russian girl that we struggled with a little bit, and she's not there no more, so that kind of helps. But yeah, I think she's a complete player, So you got to find ways to trap her. You got to find ways to double her up. So you got to do some things maybe to try to keep it. When it's a small guard, we would probably deny and not let her have the ball. When it's a big guard, you can deny all you want. They'll just go post her up or they'll use her for screens to get open and stuff like that. So it makes it more difficult when you got a big guard. So, you're going to try to trap, but she still can pass out of it. So you got to throw a lot of different things at her and make her make it play. And that's kind of what she's good at too. She can make plays.
How does kind of going against a guard like that not necessarily force your players to like elevate their game, but like understand that these are the type of players, and if we can play well against these type of players, this is ultimately where we want them to be at?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. When you play the best players that are best teams, you want to step up. I mean, we talk about it. We talk about us. Can we slow her down? Can we do some things to make her uncomfortable? And take pride in it. I think that's the big thing about sports. You take pride in some of the things that you are capable of doing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a tall task. I really liked what Sean does as a coach. And, he's a great, ambassador for women's basketball. So, when you go play, I feel like that with Little Rock all the time. Joe Foley was like so much fun to play again, because he was so good at what he did. And I saw he just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, or he's getting inducted to the Hall of Fame at Arkansas. So, you look at those things and you play against great coaches that have great teams. I feel you play better. Your team, it's easier to get your team excited about trying to get a win against a better opponent.
How much are y'all monitoring the weather?
Well, Casey's nervous. Our coach don't get too nervous about. I know we can fly out of Lafayette, but after that, we don't know. We're going to Charlotte, and from there we got to go to wherever and fly back. We're not getting back till Sunday. Well, we pray we get back till Sunday. So you're right. So Casey's monitoring it like
They're getting another blast.
Yeah, and so that might be a major problem. Is we may not get there, or we get there and we might not be back here. So
when are y'all scheduled to leave, and what is the chances that it could get changed?
We leave tomorrow morning at 7. We fly out of Lafayette. And then we fly to Charlotte, and from Charlotte, I forget to where, somewhere in Virginia, an hour away from Harrisburg. And so, yes, it could be some major problem, because we're going to be right in the mix of things, too. And then we got to drive 4 hours to Marshall. And then the problem is from Marshall, we got to drive an hour to wherever to get back, So it's going to be, we couldn't get it. They moved up the game.
Charlottesville, where y'all going?
Yeah. And so they moved up the game time for us from 2 to 12 so we could fly out on Saturday, and we couldn't. There was no flight. There wasn't enough the numbers we'd have to go on 2 different flights to come back.
Okay, one more basketball question. Is these new zones that y'all are experimenting going to be easier to rebound out of? Because that's a problem.
Ooh, man, that's a great question, and you just answered it. The zone, that's why I don't like the zone. Because if you look at the type of defense that I play, it's a man-to-man, but it at times it looks like a matchup, because if the ball is on the left side of the floor, we have 5 people on the left side of the floor. And that's kind of what the matchup zone does. It kind of follows that. So it's like a matchup, but I think we rebound better out the man, because you're guarding a man, and your responsibility is pretty much that, to box out. In the zone, you're blocking out in your area. Somebody might not be in your area, so somebody might be free. So it's could be a problem, And we talk about it. It's my scout, so man, I have box out, box out, box out. What are the keys to win? Box out. We got to box out. No matter what defense we're in, we got to make sure that we rebound. Because you're right, that could be a major problem. I think. Especially anything new, we seem to, kids these days, they seem to watch it because they think it. And basketball is all about reaction. It really is. You have to be able to react to it. I don't really want, on the offensive side, I get why you think, because you're running some plays. On the defensive side, I'd rather you fly around than think about what you're supposed to do. So, and that's kind of it's a great question. And I'm hoping the answer is we can rebound, but be tough. Very good, Kevin. I thought you were a baseball guy.
I am.
Anything else for Coach Kevin?
As we're coming down the stretch of the season, Amijah, she's leading the team in points. If she were to finish the season as the team's leading scorer, it'd be the first time a freshman's done so since 2013 with Kiki Beal. Going into the season, did you kind of anticipate that from Amijah, and what have you liked seeing from her this season?
Yeah, I mean, she's always been able to score the ball, you know. I think she could be more consistent if we could kind of change her shot a little bit. Her shot needs to be changed a little bit, and we didn't. We actually didn't mess with it too much at all, you know. But she can get to the rim. That's the thing that amazes me is how she gets to the rim and is able to score with somebody hanging on his back and doing all that, you know. So I think, you know, I think she's a lot like Kiki Veal. I really do. Kiki was a better jump shooter than her. And Kiki passed the ball probably a little bit better than, well, I don't know, maybe not. They were different in that aspect, but she's like Kiki Veal and a little bit bigger and stronger, you know. But they remind me of each other. And, you know, she got a lot of potential, you know. I think she's growing on the defensive side. You know, we have to kind of hide her a little bit sometimes, or we on her pretty hard about it. And I think the thing that hurts her between her more than Kiki Veal had to sit the bench because we had 14, 15 people. And if she didn't do what we asked her to do, we sat her and she cried and she couldn't transfer. Now, if we sit and we can't sit anybody because we playing 8 people. So lucky for her, she gets to do what she wants to do and still play. But if we had to sit her with the transfer, whoa. You know, we are putting kids in position that, you know, right now at 9 people that can succeed, like or be successful or look like they're really successful, and all of a sudden, you know, we giving them the opportunity to be able to market themselves. So it's pretty cool.